Okay, we're going to be doing our linear functions and ratio and proportion review. All right, so the first one says to write the equation in the line in slope-intercept form. So we've got slope is 2, m is 2, and the y-intercept, b, is negative 11. So this is easy as it gets. Y equals 2x minus 11. Slope goes in front of the x. The y-intercept is the constant that goes out there like that. Okay, number 2 says write the equation of this line in point slope form. Okay, so back over here, just let me say this real quick on slope intercept. Obviously it's y equals mx plus b. Over here on point slope, it's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. That's the point slope form. So we're going to have y minus the y1, which is negative 12. So notice we already have the minus here, or negative sign, and there's a negative 12. So there's going to be two negatives, so we're going to have y minus negative 12, and we'll come back and clean that up in just a second, equals m the slope, which is negative 2/3, and then we have x minus, okay, and then there's a negative 7 there. So if we clean that up, we're going to get y plus 12 equals negative 2/3 times x plus 7. And that right there is in point slope form. Okay, number 3, we're going to convert this from point slope into slope intercept form. Okay, so we're going to have y minus 8. I'm not changing anything there yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute this 2/3 inside the parentheses first. Okay, so 2/3 times x is just 2/3 x. And then 2/3 times 9, if you just type that in your calculator, 2/3 times 9 is going to give you 6. Okay. And then we have one more step. I want the y by itself, so now I've got to add 8 to both sides. So these 8's cancel each other out. Y equals 2/3 x, and 6 plus 8 gives us 14. And that is what we want right there. Okay, number 4 says graph the line that goes through negative 9, 9 and it has a slope of negative 2/7. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to negative 9, 9. I'm going to plot that point because I know the line goes through that point. And now I'm going to use the slope to find more points on this line. So from this point, negative 2/7. Remember, the top number is my up-down movement and the bottom number is my right movement. So I'm going to go, and since it's negative, I'm going down 2, so down 1, 2. Then I'm going to go over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I could put more points on it than that, but that'll get us right there. Okay, on this one all we're doing is just matching up. So slope intercept, like I've already said, slope intercept is this one right here, is E. Point slope form is B, y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Slope is just m, so that's C here. The y-intercept is B, which is answer choice D, and then slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, number 10 says find the slope between these 2 points. Okay, so I'm going back up here and just using this formula right here that's on A. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I label these x1, y1, x2, y2. So it's y2, which is 7, minus y1, which is 4, over x2, which is 14, minus x1, which is 8. And so you could just type that whole thing in your calculator and let that do the work for you. On top that's going to be 3, and 14 minus 8 is going to be 6, which ends up simplifying all the way down to 1/2. Okay, on number 11, same thing. It's going to be 13 minus negative 9 over 4 minus negative 6, which that's going to be 13 plus 9, which is 22, and then 4 plus that's going to be 10, which if you simplify that, divide both top and bottom by 2, that's going to give you 11/5 will be your slope. Okay, on this next section, what we're doing here is we are identifying the slope for each line. Then we're going to write the equation of a line that would be parallel to it, and then an equation of a line that's perpendicular to it. So on number 12, y equals 2x plus 4. Okay, what's the slope there? And the answer is 2. Now I want an equation of a line that's parallel to that. So remember, to be parallel, for two lines to be parallel, what has to be true of those two lines? And the main thing is that they have to have the same slope. Okay, so I'm going to put y equals 2x, and then I'm going to put plus 33. This number does not matter. Just as long as it's not the exact same thing as that, that's the only thing that does matter. But as long as it has the same slope, then they're parallel. So this will work. Now, remember, to be perpendicular, the slope has to be the negative or opposite reciprocal. So if the slope is 2, or you could think of it as 2 over 1, okay, it's going to have to be y equals, we've got to flip those two numbers and change the sign. So it's going to be negative 1/2 x plus 7. And again, this number out here doesn't matter. What matters is that the slope on this perpendicular line is the negative or opposite reciprocal of the slope of the original one. Okay, number 13. Slope is 2/3. Okay, number right in front of the x. So for a line parallel, it just needs the same slope, 2/3 x minus 3. And again, the minus 3 doesn't really matter, just that it has 2/3 for perpendicular. Now we got to take this slope, flip these two numbers, and change the sign on the 2/3. So negative 3/2 x minus 18. All right, and on 14, the slope here, there's no number there, so there's a 1 implied. Okay, so for perpendicular, y equals, you could put 1x or just leave x, plus 41. And then over here, for the negative reciprocal, opposite reciprocal for perpendicular, it's going to be negative 1 over 1, or it could just be negative 1x plus 13. Okay, so all of that stuff is like the algebra stuff that we did a couple of weeks ago. All right, that's included on this test. And now we're jumping into the stuff we've done over the last week, or a few more days than that, of the ratio and proportions. So it says find the length of RT. Okay, so since these two angles are congruent to each other, this angle is bisected, we know this is split proportionally. So I'm going to say 7.5 is to 3.5 as 9 is to x. And again, like I said on all this, there's more than one way to set this up, and it still works. You could put 7.5 is to 9 as 3.5 is to x. Okay, in all of these, there's more than one way to set it up and to get the correct answer. There's more than one way to set it up that would be wrong. You've got to be consistent in the way you set it up. If you put 7.5 over 9, but then if you put x over 3.5, you're going from here to here on this one, but then going from here to here on this one, and that's getting them backwards. You've got to be consistent. If you're going to put this over this, you've got to put this over this. Just the main thing is you got to be consistent. All right, so we're going to do our butterfly method here. So I'm going to go 3.5 times 9, and that's going to give me 31.5, and then 7.5 times x. Okay, divide by 7.5, divided by 7.5, and that's going to give me that x equals 4.2. Okay, which that's, okay, actually this says find the length of RT, so from A to T is 4.2, so to find RT I've got to add those two up, 3.5 plus 4.2, and that's going to give me 7.7. Okay, number 16, what's the scale factor from the larger triangle to the smaller one? Okay, so from the larger to the smaller. So going from here to here, first of all, that is going to be an example of a reduction. Okay, now on this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to count the dimension right here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then on this one, it's 1, 2 units. So we're going from 6 to 2. All right, and so several ways to think about that is, well, the way I would just do it is I just put this being the new and this being the old, put new over old, 2 over 6 is 1/3. Or you could think of it like this, 6 times some number equals 2, okay? 6 times something gives you 2. Or you could think of it as like this, 6 times x equals 2. And if you want to solve for x, you just divide both sides by 6 so that these cancel and you get 2 over 6. You know, just like what I said up here, which that simplifies down to 1/3. Okay. Solve for b. So we're going to cross multiply, do my butterfly. 9 times b is 9b. And when I distribute, whenever I multiply this way, I've got to distribute because there's 2 pieces down here. So 7 has to get multiplied to the b and to the -10. So 7 times b is 7b, and 7 times -10 is -70. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 7b from both sides. That's going to give me 2b equals -70. Okay, then I got to divide both sides by 2. So if these 2's cancel, I'm going to get b equals -70 divided by 2 is -35. So b equals -35 on that one. Okay, on this one, 9 times k. Then here I've got to distribute. I've got to do 6 times k and 6 times -7. So that's going to give me 6k, and then 6 times -7 is -42. All right, get my k's together. I'm going to subtract 6k from both sides. That way this zeroes out. This leaves 3k, still equal to -42. Divide both sides by 3, and that's going to be 1, -14, 30, 12, yep. So k equals -14 on that one. Okay. Number 19 says, what is the value of x? All right, well, we know that these two are similar because those 2 angles are the same, these 2 angles are the same, and then that would mean that these 2 angles have to be the same. So these 2 are similar. And so because they're similar, I can use proportions to find the value of x. Okay? So I'm going to do it like this. I'm going to say 12 is to 16 as 24 is to x. Okay? 12 is to 16 as 24 is to x. And again, there's more than one way to do this for sure. You could also say 12 is to 24. You'll put 12 over 24 equals 16 over x. And like I said, there's definitely more than one way. It's just you have to be consistent. If you put 12 over 24, you cannot put x over 16 because that's going from here to here, and then from here to here going the opposite way. That does not work. You just got to make sure you're consistent in the way you set it up. Which actually it's actually easier now that I'm looking at this, think about it like this. From here to here, it's just doubled. So since these are similar, from here to here is going to be doubled. So I already know this is going to be 32 because 16 times 2 is that. But I'm going to go ahead and work it out like we have right here. So we have 12 times x is 12x, and 16 times 24 is 384. Then if I divide both sides by 12, divide by 12, and that is going to give me 32. Okay, on number 20. So again here, since this angle is bisected, this angle and this angle are congruent, I know that this is split proportionally, so I can set this up as a proportion. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and set it up like this. I'm going to say 6 is to 9 as x minus 4 is to x. 6 is to 9 as x minus 4 is to x. Now we're going to cross multiply and solve here. So 6 times x is 6x, and 9 times x minus 4. Again, here I've got to distribute. So 9 times x is 9x, and 9 times negative 4 is negative 36. All right, so I'm going to subtract 9x from both sides. I'm going to get negative 3x equals negative 36. Then I'm going to divide both sides by negative 3. And negative 36 divided by negative 3 is 12. Okay, number 21. All right, so same thing here. 6 is to 9 as 2 is to x. That is to that as that is to that. I know that because these two lines are parallel. So again, this is split proportionally. So I'm going to get 18 equals 6x divided by 6, and x equals 3. Whoops, sorry. Okay, 9 times 2 is 18, 6 times x is 6x, divide both sides by 6, x equals 3. Okay, number 22, the ratio of the angles of a triangle are 12 to 8 to 10. What is the measure of each angle? Okay, so remember in a triangle, the three angles always add up to 180. So I know for every 12 parts in this angle, to every 8 parts in this angle, to every 10 parts of this angle, that's going to add up to 180. Okay, I just need to know what the parts is. What does x equal? All right, so 12 plus 8 plus 10, that's going to be 20. So we get 30x when we add all those up to equal 180. Divide by 30 on both sides, and we're going to get that x equals 6. Okay, so now I said for every 12 parts, to 8 parts, to 10 parts, now I know what the parts is. Every part is a 6. Okay, so 12 times 6 is 72 degrees. 8 times 6 is 48 degrees, and then 10 times 6 is 60 degrees. And 72 to 48 to 60 is in the ratio of 12 to 8 to 10, and these three angles, if you add these three up, it's going to get you to 180 degrees. All right, number 23. So we cross multiply, we're going to get 6x equals 90. Divide both sides by 6, and that's 15. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and do number 25 right here. So b plus 5 times 10, I've got to distribute. There's two pieces down here, a b and a 5 gets multiplied to the 10. So we get 10b plus 50 equals 35. And then we're going to solve for b. So I'm going to subtract 50 from both sides. So we get 10b equals negative 15. Divide by 10. And b is going to equal negative 1.5. Okay, jumping back up here to number 24. All right, a shorter flagpole casts a shadow 15.3 feet shorter than the shadow of a longer pole. The taller pole is 26.5 feet tall and casts a shadow 47.7 feet long. How tall is the shorter pole? Okay, so we have this taller pole that is 26.5 feet tall, and it casts a shadow that is 47.7 feet long. So I kind of drew that wrong. It should have been longer this way, but we'll go with it. Okay, and then there's a shorter pole, and it says that the shorter pole casts a shadow that is 15.3 feet shorter than this one. So I need to figure out what's 15.3 feet shorter than 47.7. So 47.7 minus 15.3 is, okay, no, you ain't gonna be able to see that, but it is 32.4. Okay, again, what I'm doing here is it says that it's 15.3 feet shorter than the shadow of the longer one. So I just took 47.7, subtracted, took 15.3 off to get that 32.4. And now I'm looking for the height of this shorter pole. So now it's just a proportional thing. 26.5 is to x, as 47.7 is to 32.4. All right, so I'm just going to cross multiply. I'm going to get 47.7x equals, okay, 26.5 times 32.4, and that is 858.6. All right, so then I was going to divide 858.6 by 47.7, and that just happens to come up with exactly 18. And so the answer to the question up here is that the shorter pole is exactly 18 feet tall. Okay, and the last one here, number 26, plot the equation -3/2 x plus 4. Okay, so the y-intercept is 4, so I'm going to go up to 1, 2, 3, 4. I know it crosses the y-axis at 4, and now I'm going to use the slope to find some more points on the line. So the slope is -3/2, down 3 over 2, or down 3, right 2. So I'm going to go down 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. And that's what the equation should look like. All right, y'all take care. Hope everybody's doing good.